Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, rocksteady to my bebop, co-host extraordinaire, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty upbeat. I am slightly confused, though, because we just seem to be moving from one Billy to the next.
Yeah, we're Billy bopping all over the place these last couple of weeks, but this week is a slightly different Billy. What song have we been listening to this week?
We have been listening to Billy Joe Armstrong's Green Day's 2009 single 21 Guns off their 21st Century Breakdown album.
Tim, do you hate this song?
I don't think so. This gets a big old meh from me. This song sucks. It's like the dictionary definition of bland later period Green Day. I just don't care enough to hate it, but maybe I can get there. It does suck quite a bit.
It does suck pretty hard.
What about you? Do you hate this?
I don't. And I kind of hate myself a little bit for that answer. But you're right. It's a yawn and a half. I just can't care enough to hate it. You've got to really make an impression on me if you want to get me there. And this just doesn't do it.
Well, Green Day and I will try to make that impression on you this week.
Warm up those hands. Let's see if you can get me there. What?
You know what you've
done. What do you
done.
mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Tim, I'm curious. Is this the first time your day has been greened? And specifically, your guns have been saluted?
No. I was a fairly big fan of Green Day in the early to mid 90s, but I kind of jumped off new Green Day records after hearing Nimrod. I have not looked back since then. I've heard Warning, American Idiot, and this album at some point, but I can't have heard this song more than once or twice in my life.
Interesting.
Well, before this week, obviously. Now I've heard it 11 to 12 times. What about you, though, Gary? Is this the first time Green Day has given you the old 21 gun salute?
Don't call me Gary. And of course not, Tim. I loved Dookie. I liked Insomniac to some degree, and then I was out. I heard other stuff on the radio, and specifically this song, Tim, 2009 was an odd year. It was before mobile connectivity was standard in almost all cars, but it was after anybody in their right mind would listen to the radio. Unfortunately for me, my job required me to fly around the country to various locations and rent cars. So I would be at the mercy of the local radio station, being unable to either listen to my phone or bring a book of CDs like a crazy person.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. You're telling me that your job was to fly around the country and rent cars. That's what you're claiming.
No, that is not what I'm claiming. You are bad at listening. Part of my job required me to fly around the country and use the service of rental cars in order to get to my clients at various places around the world.
And once you got to those clients, what would you then do?
Not important.
Okay.
Legally, Tim, I am obliged by certain contracts to not reveal the identity of my clients.
Okay.
Or
you know what?
the services I provided for them.
Yeah. All right. So murder. Gotcha.
Nobody said murder.
I did.
Nobody said murder.
I accuse you, sir.
You know what? I can admit when I'm wrong. You did say murder. Anyway, Tim, returning back to the point of all of this, I found myself having to listen to local radio stations almost on a weekly basis. And guess what? This song was really, really popular.
Yes, it was.
That's our history. And traditionally, this is the part of the show where I ask you to take us on a brief journey. Help us understand, how did this album come to be? What is the history of Green Day? But this is a Prepisode where we can experiment and try new things. And this week, Tim, I'm bringing the history.
For reasons that will become clear maybe later, I've done no research, so it is up to Gerald to take us through the Prepisode version of history this week.
I don't like it when you speak. Tim, in 1986, friends Billy Joe Armstrong and Mike Dirnt, which I know I'm just getting started, but if you'd asked me for $1 million, is Mike Dirnt in Green Day? I probably would have said no, right?
Oh, sure. If you were to ask, is Mike Dirnt a person? I would have possibly said no.
Good answer. But somehow, some way, Mike Dirnt and Billy Joe Armstrong, at the age of 14 years old, formed their very first band together named Sweet Children. In 1988, Armstrong and Dirnt began working with former Isocracy drummer John Kiffmeyer, also known as Al Sobrante.
Of course, yeah. That one I did know.
While performing at a local show in 1988, Larry Livermore, owner of Lookout Records, saw the band play and signed the group to his label. And so in 1989, the band recorded a debut EP called 1,000 Hours. They dropped the name Sweet Children, and they pick up the name Green Day because, get this, and I honestly would not have guessed this, because they like getting high.
Oh.
It really is that stupid.
I still don't get it.
Marijuana is green?
Right.
And they want to have a high day, I guess. I'm not sure I get it either. Anyway, Lookout releases Green Day's debut studio album, 39 Smooth, in early 1990 and would later re-release it with additional tracks from some of their early EPs. By 1990, and shortly after the band's first nationwide tour, Kiffmeyer left the East Bay area to attend Humboldt State University, and Trey Cool takes his place as the new drummer. His name is T.R.E. Cool.
Now, is that his Christian name?
I believe it is his given legal name. I will not call it his Christian name, you fucking weirdo.
His parents are the Cools, and they named him T.R.E.
You know what? Now that you say it out loud, I'm feeling like I maybe didn't do the full research.
Well, all right.
Undetermined. The band went on tour for most of 1992 and 1993 and played a number of shows overseas in Europe, as well as releasing Kerplunk. Now, that sells about 50,000 copies, which at first I thought was a huge disappointment, but it turns out that a small label release in 1993 of 50,000 was actually just good enough to get the bigger music labels to come a knockin'. They start getting offers from all the big boys, and eventually they decide to sign with Reprise Records because they happen to have a producer they were a big fan of. They immediately get into the studio, and within 3 weeks they record all of Dookie, releasing it February 1994. I think there is truly something to the fast creation of an album.
Yes. Probably a lot easier early on in your career. You got shit to say. You get those albums like Chinese Democracy or Pet Sounds, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, just let me hear the first take, because this is garbage.
What?
Chinese Democracy is not a good album, Garrett.
You said Pet Sounds.
And Pet Sounds.
I will fight you. That album's great. Chinese Democracy less so. After recording Dookie, as everyone probably knows, Dookie became a massive commercial success, helped by extensive MTV airplay for the songs Longview, Basket Case, and When I Come Around, all of which reached the #1 position in the modern rock charts.
It's so you can say you got a #1 album when you do not.
I wish that there was just one list.
Yep.
I don't understand why we have to...
The Dutch do just one.
That's true. The Dutch do at least that right. You know what? They do a lot right. You have soured me on the Dutch, not the Dutch. Dutch, I'm sorry. They go on tour and have numerous insane shows, resulting in mud fights and people starting riots in the crowd. Insomniac gets released in the fall of 1995 to about half the success of Dookie, and that felt about right to everybody, I think. Nobody really complained. To be clear, I think the album was still platinum, but Dookie was like double diamond or something ridiculous.
That can't be the case.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Dookie sold 20 million copies in the U.S., is your claim.
Yes.
That seems high.
You know what? People really like to tweet in and stuff when I'm wrong, so let me be real clear. I'm guessing. Okay? So
Really?
You can save the updates. Don't care. We do this every week. Guess how long I remember these episodes? Exactly not at all. I forget it immediately. It's the only way we can do the next one.
Right. That's why I'm the official historian of the show.
You are. And I want to say, you do a really pretty good job.
Thank you.
Insomniac is released. The band goes on a brief hiatus in 1996 and then returned to the studio to begin work on a new album to be released in October of 1997. The result of this effort was Tim's favorite, Nimrod, an experimental deviation from the band's standard pop-punk sound. It had that awful Time of Your Life, Good Riddance song on it. We all know that one, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing that you want your song to be associated with more than funerals and graduations.
You're 100% right. And it's weird that it's those two things only.
Yeah, well, whenever you get fired, they will, of course, play it on your way out.
I request that when I get fired, I hear exclusively Closing Time. Nimrod comes out and performs considerably less well than the previous one did. But again, when you're starting at 20 million albums sold,
way too high.
To do way less is still a massive achievement. In late 1997 and most in 1998, Green Day embarks on a tour in support of Nimrod, adding guitarist Jason White in 99 as their official road rhythm guitarist for all tours. In 2000, Green Day released its 6th studio album, Warning, and then joined the Warped Tour in 2000 because apparently all things flow through the Warped Tour.
Right? You really weren't a band until you hit the Warped Tour. You can have 6 albums. No one cares. What year did you do the Warped Tour?
At the top of your musician's resume is basically a standard checkbox. Warped Tour. Yes. Otherwise, you can forget it. What is interesting about that, Tim, is it is the year 2000, and they're just now headlining the Warped Tour, which to me is an excellent barometer for how much their star has fallen.
Right. It's weird that they weren't able to pull it off right after Dookie, because, Sublime was headlining.
I think they were too good for it.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
By this point, Tim, people are pretty over this band, and they kind of stopped paying attention. In the summer of 2003, the band went into the studio to write and record new material for a new album, tentatively titled Cigarettes and Valentines. I had never heard this before, but apparently after completing 20 tracks, the master recordings were stolen from the studio. And instead of re-recording the stolen tracks, the band decided to abandon the entire project and start over. So let's ask the question. Did that happen?
No, they had nothing.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I was coming at it from the other angle. They burned it all.
Could be. The other option, so there's three options here. One, they just lied. They're just like, well, we need a reason these songs sound like we wrote them yesterday. It's because we did all this awesome work and then they got stolen.
Oh, so you think that we're still hearing the original music, they just need an excuse for why it wasn't very good?
Yes.
Okay.
So then there's the option that you said where they actually had something, they listened to it and they burned it, and then they just recorded something in about a week and it was not great. The third option, well, I guess it's possible that it's true.
It just seems so unlikely, right?
Yeah. Green Day's a big enough band, there's a good chance that would have resurfaced at some point. Here's the real issue though. If you've just recorded an album, how do you not know any of the songs? How can you not recreate that to some degree?
That's where it all falls apart. I think their claim is that they just decided to redo it. Why? The only reason to do that is if either they never existed, which I'm now starting to believe is probably the case, or it was just shit.
Yeah, this is the Portugal the Man thing.
What was the story there again?
Oh, their story was that they just didn't like it. They were going to release a double album a year before Woodstock was supposed to have come out, and then they just didn't.
Right. I couldn't remember why. I at least respect their artistic integrity to say, well, I don't really like this.
Yeah, but then they came out with Woodstock, so...
Man, we should really do a revisit on that. Was that the first episode?
It was the first one we recorded, and then you lost half the audio, and so then it was the third episode.
There's a nice way to say that.
Hey, I am the historian of this show. You do not argue with me.
That's not what that means. Well, Tim, I don't think that these are the original songs and that they were trying to cover it up, because the album that does get released in its stead in 2004 is American Idiot. And this album makes some serious cash. The album was labeled as a punk rock opera which followed the journey of the fictitious Jesus of Suburbia, and the album depicts modern American life under the control of an idiot ruler who let people be misinformed by the media and a redneck agenda. You've actually heard this entire album start to finish?
Yep.
Do you have a hot take?
Probably didn't deserve to do real well.
Hot take. You know what, Tim? You inherited a lot of things from your mother. Her nose, her soft German accent. You did not, unfortunately, inherit her ability to provide riveting hot takes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please listen to the Jack White episode in which Tim's mother weighs in with some serious Tim's mom hot takes.
So that you don't get too excited, I wrote down what she said over a week of me making her listen to that album. You don't get to hear her delightful German accent.
Well, she was pretty emphatic that we not record her.
Yes, also she asked what a podcast was and when it would be airing on the radio.
Delightful. So through 2005, the band toured in support of the album with over 150 dates. After that, they take a 5-year hiatus and release the album 21st Century Breakdown in May of 2009. This is, of course, the album on which the single we're talking about today appears. In 2009, while they are touring against 21st Century Breakdown, quietly, the American Idiot musical is being put into production, and it opened at the Berkeley Repertory Theater during the end of the year. The band followed up this album and musical with a series of albums that I had never heard of called Uno, Dos, and Tre. They were released on September 21st, November 9th, and December 7th of 2012, respectively, and were met with weirdly generally positive reviews from critics, although fans were mostly over it.
That sounds about right.
Another fact that I was not aware of at all, on April 18th, 2015, Green Day was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by Fall Out Boy, which is the fourth saddest sentence I've ever never said.
Yes. What's number 2? Something about eating a popsicle at a urinal when you were in college?
Oh, no, that's not even anywhere near that. Listen, I had to pee and I had a popsicle. What would you do?
Finish the popsicle, then pee.
Couldn't happen. I had to get to my next class. Anyway, on September 30th, 2019, Green Day signed a 2-year agreement with the National Hockey League. And I was shocked to read this, Tim, until I realized what that means. The contract resulted in a song called Fire Ready Aim that I have in fact heard while watching hockey, and it's supposed to be kind of like their Monday Night Football song. The whole thing end to end is super lame, and this coming from a hockey fan. In future news, Tim, February 7th, 2020, the 13th studio album by Green Day will be released, entitled Father of All Motherfuckers. And let me be the first to say, Green Day, you're welcome. You're getting the Why I Hate This Album bump.
That's true. Yeah. If it's successful, they owe us 50% of their earnings.
Ooh, hold on, Tim. 30.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah,
but I want some of that
greedy.
concert money too. You know what? No concert money, but like 10% merchandise.
I think we go 25%, really seem reasonable, but it's a 360 deal. Merchandising, touring, album sales, the whole thing, T to B.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
If anybody's curious, a 360 deal is 100% a real thing that is imposed upon new artists now by horrible music industry types. And it literally means that you cannot make $1 on anything you make, produce, or has anything to do with you without giving them a little bit of taste.
Yeah, they're pimps.
Gotta wet that beak, Tim. That pretty much brings us, well, technically to the future, Tim. So, you ready to talk about this song?
Absolutely.
Let's wet everybody listening's beak with a little taste of Green Day's 21 Guns.
Pretty good.
Well,
It's a little bit of a weird song to do for a Prepisode because it comes from a rock opera. It also fits neatly into a completely different rock opera because this is part of the American Idiot Broadway show. Apparently characters are interchangeable between these two stories and it doesn't fucking matter.
not just characters, Tim, but entire concepts. Let me give you a brief description of what Green Day says this song is about. They say it's an anti-war song, which also serves as a metaphor for Christian and Gloria's, the 21st century breakdown main characters' tumultuous relationship. So, 21 Guns is both a metaphor for two people having a tumultuous relationship and an anti-war anthem.
Checks out.
Yep, war and relationships are basically the same.
Well, it depends what kind of relationship you have, Garrett.
One in which they are firmly ensconced in the northern hills of Afghanistan.
Possibly. Perhaps you've dug 2 trenches along your living room and you're each in one and just lobbing some sort of gas at each other.
Good lord. There are a number of bunkers or spider holes beneath our apartment, so I guess
but that's
you and
for
I
a
may
different
be-
thing. Some other descriptions of this song from the interwebs. Entertainment Weekly said that this was the sensitive arena rock cut that made us think of Toto's Africa. Sounds
No.
reasonable.
Hot take, do you like Toto's Africa?
Yes.
Nice, that is the correct answer.
Absolute Punk said the album's highlight, it's an anti-war ballad that is both monumentally enduring and sophisticated protest. Sophisticated.
No, I can't agree.
This was also nominated for a Grammy, Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal, as well as Best Rock Song. It did not win either, and it also appears in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, that will come up later, Vampire Diaries, and is a playable track on several different Rock Band video games.
So it's widely known in pop culture, all things that I don't associate with. I mean, I saw that Transformers movie because you and I have an ongoing Transformers challenge, but
Is that the
that's
one
neither.
we watched and we fast forwarded all of the Mark Wahlberg-y talking parts?
I think so. Did you guys see these robots?
I've seen him now attempt to portray a school teacher and a scientist, and it just, my brain won't accept it.
What about when he puts on glasses?
Oh, well, I mean, better, sure. But
Very
still,
sciencey
no.
glasses.
Yeah, maybe if I saw him in glasses and a lab coat, but the lab coat had the sleeves torn off.
Like he's a ripped scientist.
Yeah.
You guys look at these molecules?
So, okay, let's talk about the music here.
Okay.
Extremely plain. This is,
This is your mom and dad's punk rock.
it follows a very specific template for Green Day post 97 or so. You start off with the acoustic soft guitar, then you just sort of go into this like relatively gentle pop punk.
I would argue, aside from Billy Joe's fairly recognizable voice, it's difficult to categorize this as even pop punk. It's kind of just a pop song that has from a pop punk band.
That's fair. The opening is apparently very similar to Holiday from American Idiot. I didn't really notice, and I'm not going back to listen to Holiday, but it does also sound a lot like the Scott McKenzie song San Francisco. You familiar with this?
I am familiar with it.
Well, it sounds so much like that song that John Phillips, the principal songwriter of the Flower Song, has a songwriting credit on 21 Guns.
Wow.
I wasn't able to figure out when he was added. It may have been just we have to put him on there to avoid a lawsuit, or it may have been like a post hoc kind of thing. Yeah.
That's interesting because there is another song that this song not just sounds like, very much is. A little song called Everywhere You Look. You may know it as the Full House theme song. Towards the back third of this song, there is a solo, and it sounds exactly like the Full House theme song. You just hear do-do-do-do-do.
Holy shit.
Someone to hold on to.
You know what? Another San Francisco connection.
What if, Tim, you and I have stumbled onto some sort of national treasure-like series of clues that Billy Joe Armstrong has planted within his songs and albums that will lead us to an ultimate treasure in San Francisco.
I like it. You know what? Let's go to San Francisco. Actually, let's go to Berkeley. Let's rob Billy Joe Armstrong. And well, because listen, Garrett, I'm not going to take the time to meticulously decode clues. Let's just get him tied to a chair, make him tell us what he knows. Hold on,
I was looking to have a national treasure-like adventure, and you very quickly turned it to a Suicide Kings-type torture scene.
Well, it'll still be an adventure. We'll go under some sort of monument or something. Yeah,
okay, no,
that's all going to happen. That's all going to happen. But if Billy Joe wants to keep those fingers, allegedly, allegedly, we should probably bleep that so he doesn't know what's coming.
Don't want him to preemptively prep his fingers.
Yeah.
God damn it, dude. What are you even talking about?
I want to know. I want to know what the San Francisco secrets are.
I think that we got to take the journey.
Oh, we will. And we'll find him. Get him to tell us.
Bind him to a chair.
Yeah.
Take his eyelids.
Oh, God. No, I wouldn't even go that far.
Well, I thought you wanted answers.
I would also like to mention this is the first time Green Day has worked with producer Bruce Vigg, drummer for Garbage, as well as producer for Nirvana Nevermind, Sonic Youth, Smashing Pumpkins, Foo Fighters, the newest Silver Sun pickups. So if we dislike this, it's probably not his fault.
Of course not.
But I think it was co-produced between Green Day and Mr. Vigg.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what in the world is going on in this song. It is really straddling two worlds. So let me read a couple of lines here, and you tell me what side of the road you think the story belongs on. They sing, "Does the pain weigh out the pride? And you look for a place to hide. Did someone break your heart inside? You're in ruins." Is that about PTSD or about breaking up with your best gal?
I think that is talking about the time that Saddam Hussein tried to kill Bush's daddy.
Okay.
They were allies before. I mean, granted, he got a little bit out of control back in the early 90s. Kind of had to put him back in his place. Yeah. You know,
sent over Donnie Rumsfeld, couple handshakes.
Yeah, absolutely. But he hurt us a little bit. We were a prideful country that had been hurt by this man's selfish actions. He broke our heart, and then we destroyed their country. That's the
interesting.
Ruins.
The someone who broke your heart inside was Saddam Hussein.
Yes.
And you're in that sentence, whose heart was broken, is America or George W. Bush?
George W. Bush, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's a very personal story. So it brings together the relationship and the political connotations
into one story. Interesting. I didn't pick up on that. Really good ear. Up until now, the only reason that I would necessarily think that it was about PTSD or, as you put it, the Gulf War, or Operation Iraqi Freedom, terror. Tried to kill my daddy.
Yeah, they did.
Anyway.
And then we freed them.
If I didn't know that that was supposed to be implied, I would have thought up to this point it was still just a story about a bad breakup.
Sure.
But then, Tim, then we get to the chorus. I mean, we all know it, right?
21 guns, lay down your arms, give up the fight. 21 guns, throw up your arms into the sky, you and I.
Okay.
Now I'm confused. Because
why is that?
It seems to be a song about quitting. Now, you could be quitting a relationship, breaking up. This could be pro-cowardice. It could be pro-suicide. This could be about ending war. But there's a lot of talk about giving up the fight and just letting go, walking into the light, just finally feeling that free feeling when you know the crushing pressures of life and podcast are no longer on your shoulders. And for once in years, you feel like everything's going to turn out okay. You just walk toward that light, whatever that light may be.
All right. Well, let's hope it's not the poltergeist. Let me get you a tissue. Jesus Christ, you're crying. Got weirdly specific there at the end, but I think I mostly agree. Since I've heard this song, I never understood what 121 guns was. Obviously, I knew it was a 21 gun salute, but I was always confused by the one before it. But I guess we're to take it as one death equals a 21 gun salute. And so they say, lay down your arms, give up the fight. They're saying if just one man dies, surrender.
I'm in. Yeah.
Well, you are a renowned coward.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Garrett. If I see a guy die, I'm out.
You're just going to throw up your arms and run towards the enemy?
Yeah, I quit the Navy after a single week, Garrett. I'm not doing that.
You didn't quit the Navy, Tim.
Yeah, that's true. The Navy quit me. They really failed me.
No, again, other way around.
Oh.
They quit you, you failed them.
In that order?
No.
Oh.
How are you not remembering this? You told trade secrets on this show.
That's true. And then that entire incident was memorialized in song, and we play it at the end of every single episode.
The last 10 seconds are just launch codes.
Yeah. The Navy did make us go back and re-edit. I'm not sure how that slipped by you or Gino. Guy's a great lawyer.
He's not. And I don't listen to the show. That's how that happened. He goes on, Tim, and your thoughts have taken their toll when your mind breaks the spirit of your soul. And that made me wonder, are your mind and soul constantly in battle?
Yes.
For your... Wait, what? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Garrett.
if so, over what?
Over almost everything. The heart wants so many things that the mind knows it should not have. So, I guess my soul is mostly in control of the right side of my body, whereas my mind is mostly in control of the left side. Sometimes one gets an edge over the other, but a lot of times it's just a bunch of uncoordinated flailing.
I have wondered what was with the flailing.
Oh, it's that. Green Day knows.
You're constantly having to get the two to cooperate in order to do everyday tasks.
Yes, and they don't like each other.
I'm sure. I'm curious, Tim, who do you side with? Mind or soul?
Well, I exist in my mind, so obviously that. Also, I don't really believe in souls, so I'm really not sure what's controlling half my body.
You got yourself that Bell's palsy, son.
Please don't call me son. Actually, no, I liked it. You can keep on.
That's like a reverse daddy.
Yeah, I can be the son to your daddy. That's fair.
No, you cannot. Oh my God. You know you can't.
But you're so much older than me.
No, I'm not. Back to the song, Tim. By the time we get towards the third verse in the song, he says, like a liar looking for forgiveness from a stone. Do you have any thoughts on that line?
I've got a great genius annotation for it. But let's go with the whole bridge. Did you try to live on your own when you burned down the house and home? Did you stand too close to the fire like a liar looking for forgiveness from a stone?
I think this confirms for me this song is a coward's anthem.
Okay.
And that the reason the liar is looking for forgiveness, he betrayed his fellow soldiers and either was responsible for their death or outright turned them over to the enemy. And so he is seeking forgiveness from a stone or a series of graves.
Yes, I think you're probably right with a series of graves.
What about the first part?
Well, I think that might be George Bush.
Everything's George Bush with you this week.
Yeah, well, no, everything's George Bush with Green Day, Garrett. That's all they were thinking about.
Obsessed.
I think they're calling him a liar and saying that he needs to seek forgiveness for American soldiers that died under his command.
That actually might be right.
Maybe. Who knows? Because the rest of the song doesn't necessarily support it. That's the problem with this. It jumps around and the lines around it don't necessarily support that. But I have a genius annotation here by Pierre B. He says, always heard it as like a looking for forgiveness from the stars, which can relate to the Lion King when Simba speaks to his father's ghost in the starry sky. What? Because, okay, here's the problem. Pierre B admits up front that he heard this wrong and then still offers his opinion as if it was still valid after he knows that he misheard it.
Yes. Just in case other people misheard it and also thought about the Lion King.
I don't know if I've told this story on this show. There was a girl in like 4th grade grade named Layla. Somebody said something was like making fun of her, and she responded by saying, Hakuna Matata.
What?
It's from the Lion King. It's no worries or something like that. It's the pig and the little rat guy say it.
Okay.
And she was mocked mercilessly for weeks for this.
That makes sense.
It's the kind of thing that could potentially haunt you. But, you know...
Tim, are you Layla?
No, I'm going somewhere different with this, Garrett. But it's the kind of thing that probably no one remembers and you can stop torturing yourself about it.
Yep.
Here's the thing, Garrett. It's been 25 years and I think about this at least 3 times a week. My point is, you think all of those traumatic and embarrassing things that happened to you in high school are just forgotten? You think they're in the past that no one else remembers them?
Correct.
They all think about them all the time, Garrett. And they think about what an embarrassing idiot you are/were.
Were, Tim.
They don't know that, though. They're extrapolating. They think this is what he was like in high school, but he's still like that now.
Well, hopefully they find the show and we prove them, well, By the last verse of the song, Tim, he says, when it's time to live and let die, and you can't get another try, something inside this heart has died, you're in ruins. Again, could be just letting bygones be bygones and being mature adults and moving on with the relationship, and some part of it has died and it leaves you in ruins, or it's about allowing others to die and not having a second chance to save their lives and being haunted by it for the rest of your life.
I don't know, Garrett. This song's dumb and it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Let's talk about the music video then.
Oh, absolutely. It starts with a very sullen-looking guy. He's sitting in a chair and he's playing with a bullet like he's contemplating shooting himself, right?
Shooting somebody.
Yeah, he lets it drop, and as soon as it hits the ground, the acoustic guitar and the Billy Joe Armstrong's dumb eyelined face pops up, and you start to get into the actual song.
Oh, the eyeliner, Tim. It is egregious. You're adults.
Oh, yeah. It's not appropriate, right?
It's just weird. I mean, you're younger than they are in this music video, and you have a considerable amount of eyeliner on as we speak, and it's not appropriate on you, and you're doing it as a goof for this show.
Right.
I guess for me? Again,
yeah,
no
it's
one can
mostly
see
for you. I would like to say, though, I have done a much better job than I did on the Falling in Reverse episode. I would say only 30% of the eyeliner got into my actual eyes this time.
Well, I think you were making a conscious effort to really work around the eye as opposed to the previous episode where you just kind of started from the center and worked your way out.
That's true. So the camera pans over Trey Cool on drums and Mike Dirnt on bass, and they're just kind of standing in a similar room as the guy with the bullet.
Are they in the same house?
It kind of, to me, seemed like it was a motel. Maybe they're one room over.
Oh. They're really living in that motel.
Oh, absolutely. Garrett, it's Green Day.
All right, continue.
There's a bunch of shots of the guy from the opening and a girl in this room. It looks like just a shitty motel room. Although there's other things that don't belong in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they're in a 2-bedroom home.
Okay.
Green Day lives in one room, and these two live in the other room. That is possibly a living room.
That could definitely be. But they're both just kind of staring at nothing because this is very deep, y'all.
Oh my God, the staring. They're literally standing across the room from one another, gazing intently as nobody does, with Green Day blaring in the other room. Did you notice what's happening on the walls, Tim?
Yeah, there's a bunch of writing. I assume it's lyrics to this song.
It is.
Okay.
I paused it. I read it. Waste of time. There's also several pinned up news articles. Like, it looks like we got a real conspiracy going on here.
Okay. That sounds about right. It looks like there's maybe cop lights coming through the blinds. Then the guy stands up and it looks like he just starts shooting up the room.
So I watched this a few different times. From what I can tell, he turns on the TV with a remote control. This simultaneously begins the chorus and a hail of gunfire to begin ripping through the house.
Okay. I wasn't 100% sure because he begins firing at some point too, because I think he shoots the television.
That's what I'm saying. He uses a remote control. He turns on the TV and instead it blows up the TV like a gun, and that's when the bullets begin.
Okay. So there's bullets flying all through the house. They seem to be flying through the room that the band is in.
Right.
It makes sense. It's the same house or neighboring hotel room or living room, bedroom situation. Maybe they have have a scenario where the guy and the girl live in their kitchen, living room, dining room, bedroom area, and then they have a couple of legitimate bedrooms that they just don't go in. That's for whenever Green Day comes by.
Yeah, those are practice spaces.
Sure.
Pretty normal.
There's more shooting, and then the guy and the girl walk toward each other. There's still gunfire. It's kind of unclear who's shooting. They start to kiss in this scene that's reminiscent of the album cover of 21st Century Breakdown as Billy Joe plays his guitar solo.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Yep.
Do-do-do. So I want to correct one thing you said. It's kind of unclear who's shooting. It's completely unclear. There's never any indication of where the bullets are coming from or the significance to the relationship or the jam sesh happening in the room next door.
That's true, but we can say it's all very meaningful and iconic, and it's definitely not pretentious or stupid.
What?
They do the album cover, Garrett.
I've never seen that album cover.
Oh, it's them kissing. Billy Joe starts playing the acoustic part again at the end of the song. The lights are off, and everything is just kind of illuminated by gunshot holes in the walls.
So many feathers.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of pillows lining those walls, Garrett. You
And
just
they
don't
weren't
see
just in the living room, bedroom, kitchen area. They were also in the practice room.
Oh, yeah. Again, you line all the walls with pillows, especially in the practice room, to dampen that sound.
And I guess potentially reduce the odds of being killed by a round passing through the room. Nobody seeks shelter.
Right. Maybe it's stormtroopers, Garrett, because they have such terrible aim. They shoot every single part of this house except for the physical space these 6 people are in.
Maybe they're just trying to send a message.
It could be. The video definitely doesn't make it any clear what the song's about. It makes it significantly less clear.
It makes me believe that it's not about war at all. And it's just about relationships.
When the guy at the very beginning is holding the bullet, the first thought that jumped into my mind is PTSD veteran. I mean, granted, he looks like the guy from Dashboard Confessional. Stay tuned for that album. So it's probably not a veteran, but I might also have been a little bit biased because 21 Guns is the name of the song.
Since it seems to be about a tumultuous relationship in which 2 people are constantly dodging emotional bullets being thrown at one another, I think that the beginning of the song is him contemplating murdering her.
You know what? I was being a little facetious at first, but this is iconic and deep. It's meaningful. No. It's definitely not pretentious or stupid.
Yeah, and not the least bit silly. Okay, Tim, anything else you want to say about this music video?
Nothing. However, I've never done this before. Didn't want to bias myself while watching the video. I copied and pasted the official story of and meaning to the music video without reading it, and I was going to read it here for both our reactions to see if we interpreted this correctly.
Great idea. Let's hear it.
The video takes place with the band and the album's 2 protagonists, Christian and Gloria, taking refuge in a white room after robbing a bank. The police are... Yeah. Unclear. The police arrive outside the room and open fire through the window. To the couple's terror, did not notice terror.
She was terrified at first.
Fair enough.
She just stands up and Bonnie and Clyde's that shit.
Yeah.
Apparently.
As bullets rain through the room, the band continues playing. Gloria picks up the phone and throws it into a fish tank. As bullets continue to fly and tear apart the room, Christian and Gloria become calm and walk toward each other, unharmed by the bullets. They embrace and kiss as the room goes dark, recreating the cover art of the album. As the song ends, the room lights up again, and they are still uninjured. After the room lights up, there are various shots of destruction around the room, including shots of some of the writing on the wall, which includes excerpts of 21 Guns and See the Light, the final song on the album. The video may represent the meaning of the song in the story.
Well, why wouldn't it?
Well, because it doesn't, Garrett.
All they needed, Tim, the universal symbol for bank robbery is a single sack with a $sign on it.
And also,
somebody couldn't do that.
Also, the little raccoon burglar mask.
I'm not asking for the world here. Maybe they threw away the mask. They want to go incognito on the way home, but at least show me a couple bags with some $signs on it.
Yeah. When the police shoot up the room instead of feathers, maybe there could be like dollar bills floating around.
Seems entirely logical to me.
I don't think we did very good on interpreting that video.
Well, we got at least one part right. They are in the same building.
Wait, do you think Green Day was a party to the bank robbery? Were they like the getaway guys?
Oh, I don't know if they're the drivers. Yeah, they probably have to be. They couldn't be the guys on the inside. Everyone would know who they were.
That's true. Well, no, you know what? I think Billy Joe was on the inside. I think that he was wearing a mask. That's why he's wearing so much eyeliner.
Great point, Tim. They all were in a bank robbery. God, they all had the little domino mask on. They did a terrible job conveying the message there. It does make me a little curious about the rest of the album, but We'll get there someday. Tim, how did this thing do?
This did confusingly well. This single sold over 1 million copies in the US alone, although it only hit number 22 on the Billboard 200. It only hit number 21 with the Dutch. It was, however, a number one single in Australia, Iceland, and Poland. So
hundreds of people heard it.
Yep. The album that it comes from, 21st Century Breakdown, also sold over 1 million copies in the US and more than 4 million copies worldwide. And that number is as of December 2010. It hit number one on the charts of every country Wikipedia cared to list, including both the Dutch mega charts and the Billboard 200. And it won a Grammy for Best Rock Album.
Schweizer Hit Parade?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Sverigetopplisken?
Absolutely, all of them.
What did people think of it?
Well, we have a Robert Christgau for the album, but it does seem like he's talking a little bit about the song itself. If you'd like to hear that, we could play the Robert Christgau again.
Okay, I am hesitant here, Tim. I'm going to let you make the decision. There's a chance we could do this album at some point. Should we use a Christgau on a single that we may do the album for?
That's true. Let's not do it.
Wow, bold call. I respect it. What about the average Joe, the man on the street?
We have 34 total reviews on Amazon, 4.5 out of 5 stars on average, 72% 5-star, 0% 1-star.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
0% 1-star. The first one is from Ruthie Michelle called Green Day 21. I didn't realize just how great of a band Green Day was when I first heard of them some 16 years ago. I was working in a truck stop trailer company. Had a coworker who listened to them back then. I thought they were a little too much for me. This country girl who all her life listened to pretty much country and some light rock. Same country girl who some 16 years later has found herself listening to the likes of great bands like Green Day and thinking to myself, maybe I just had to grow into them. I think I have somewhat gone backward in my age with music. I listen to a lot of what my children listen to. I would strongly suggest Green Day's music to anyone who asks about them. I just wish I would have realized way back there just how great they were then. That review, I didn't read them all, contains 9 ellipses. Every sentence ends in an ellipsis.
I don't think they know what an ellipsis is for.
Nope, but they gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
Boy, I mostly listen to the music my children listen to. Yeah.
Next one by Don Kopp Jr. called Huge Music Fan Here! ! Transformers Revenge of the Fallen.
I'm excited.
I heard this song on the movie Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I just had to have it. What a great tune. 5 out of 5 stars.
Oh, man. Don't be friends with that guy.
One more. This is from 2016. It's called Awesome Musicianship by Mr. Good Guy.
Oh, my God.
Even for as staunch a supporter of the Constitution of the United States of America as I am, there is indeed a time to lay down your guns. Plenty of time when you're dead, right? They can pry it from your cold, dead hands. Empty. 5 out of 5 stars.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's 0% 1 star, so I don't know what I was expecting, but I really thought he wasn't going to enjoy the song.
No, he agrees with their message. He just doesn't want to follow their ideals until he is dead.
Maybe if he's the first, then it'll all work out.
Yeah, that's true.
His name was Mr. Nice Guy?
Mr. Good Guy.
Okay, I just want to be clear. That sounds like the screen name you would hear on a fucking Chris Hansen report. Are you, Mr. Good Guy? And, did you bring wine coolers? Would you like some lemonade?
Yes.
Who is this single for?
This is for patriots who are okay with putting Green Day above the Constitution of the United States of America after they're dead, and for people who were working at truck stops 16 years ago. So I guess aging lot lizards.
Good Lord, she might not have been a lot lizard, Tim. Let's just go ahead and use a blanket term and say cowards.
True. That's not true, Garrett, because it's not for you or I.
That's true, and I am a world-renowned coward.
Same here. So it is for a select group of cowards.
Those willing to enter into a contract in which it is their job to not be a coward and then immediately turn tail and become cowards in the face.
Well, that can't be the case either, because that describes my Navy experience. So, lot lizards.
Okay, let's go with the often cited, very rarely correct lot lizards. Tim, what have we not said about this song?
Nothing.
Then I have to ask, Tim, do you hate this song?
I still don't think so, because I'm not really any more clear on what the song is about. I think it's boring. I think it's poorly done. I think it's lazy. The video is extremely confusing. I might hate the music video. What about you? Did you hate this?
Kinda.
That's fair.
No, I don't hate the song. I do hate the music video. I think you're right to point that out and make that fair distinction. It's fine. They have way worse songs.
Sure.
I don't hate it. That brings us to listener mail, Tim. That's where you and I each pick a piece of correspondence and read it here on the show. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
You go first.
My email this week is from Ryan. Ryan's email is titled Toby Daddy Alert. He writes, "Hey there to Nosferatim and Gary Queen." I don't love that. Hope you are enjoying your spooky Halloween season. Keep up the great work. Absolutely love the podcast. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. I was recently listening to your episode on Toby Daddy, and everyone, I'm reading it as he wrote it, and actually every time you hear me say Toby Daddy, picture an emoticon smiley face winking. I don't know why it's in there.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, of course you do.
It's a great detail. Got to get those emoji men in there.
Emoji men.
Yes.
Great. I recently listened to your episode on Toby Daddy's album Shockin' Y'all, and I was reminded of my own experience with Toby Daddy himself, more specifically the songs of this album. In college, I went out a couple of times with, crashed and burned with, a girl named Abby. Now, Tim, have you ever crashed and burned with somebody? Is that, I guess, struck out, not made a lasting bond?
No.
What?
Everyone that I've formed a
Pursued.
relationship with in one way or another is currently doing a podcast with me. So I'm one for one. No. Let me say that differently. I'm 100%.
Well, too late. Also, I am packing.
Oh, awesome. Can we please be done with this, Karen? I hate it so much.
Oh, no, we'll still do the show. We just cannot live together anymore.
Oh, no. I want the opposite. Go on.
I went out a couple of times, crashed and burned with a girl named Abby, who was a conservative Catholic girl from rural Ohio and absolutely loved her a bit of Toby Daddy. God damn it, Ryan, every time. As I listened to the episode, I was reminded of the many songs that she used to talk about, songs that I hadn't thought about since my sophomore year of college. She would later go on to ask me for money twice, try and stab her roommate, hire several of my friends for a copywriting company that she later folded without paying any of them, drop out of college, and apparently has now since moved to LA to become an actress. Wow.
Sounds like a keeper.
Indeed. It was fascinating to hear your thoughts on Shockin' Y'all and give me a better understanding about what or who was up with her. I don't know what that means. P.S. Want to give you a heads up. I drew these pictures of you guys as Nosferatim and Gary Queen. Hope you enjoy because they're going up on Instagram. And Tim, I think you also posted them on Instagram. Is that correct?
Yeah, I beat him to it.
I only saw the Nosferatim, did not see the Gary Queen. I don't understand it, but I kind of love it.
Well, Garrett, there's a restaurant in these United States called Dairy Queen.
Yes, I get that part.
Okay. Do you, though?
No.
Okay.
PPS, were you aware that Joe Pesci did an album featuring rap and lounge singing, but in character as the guy he played in My Cousin Vinny? Thought you might appreciate that. Ryan, we were aware.
I was
It
not.
is on the list. Believe it or not, Joe Pesci has multiple musical albums of a variety of different terrible styles that we will be addressing. Great email. Tim, what do you got for us this week?
I have one here from I'd Like to Remain Anonymous.
Well, this will be weird.
Yep. Dear Dr. Garrett and Low T, may I make a request? Can you do an episode on October Rust by Type O Negative? I've been meaning to write in for ages, but I figured now is the perfect time since they are a very spooky band. As far as vampirism goes, they'd eat Rojo for breakfast. We didn't do that, obviously. Sorry, Mr. Anonymous. But then he goes on, he or she, since it is the spooky month of October, I would like to know if Tim considers dressing up as a cowboy for Halloween an affront to his culture. Does it make it harder for true cowboys to identify each other, similar to how circus clowns make it harder to tell who is and who isn't a true clown? To address these point by point, I do consider it dressing up as a cowboy for Halloween an affront to my culture, but I like to think of that as more of a, like, you shouldn't dress up as like Pocahontas. It's insulting to the Native American community, right? Same thing with cowboys. I think that cowboys and Native Americans are kind of on the same level. They are... Yes, they were around at the same time. I think they even briefly interacted in some way.
Some undetermined way. It's probably very positive.
Right. So yeah, I think that it's borderline racist. Yes.
I think they helped to move a couple times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're, everyone likes the friend that will help you move. Cowboys were the Old West's version of the guy that has a truck and also a gun.
And also smallpox.
Yes. Then he asked, does it make it harder for true cowboys to identify each other? Obviously not. That's nonsense.
Obviously.
Right. With a cowboy, you're just wearing clothes. You can tell the difference between a true clown and a circus clown if you grab that clown, you hold him down, and you try to wipe off that makeup. If underneath the makeup and the silly hair and the big red nose is more discolored skin, a big red nose, and silly hair, you've got yourself a true clown. That thing's a fucking demon. With a cowboy, it's just a guy. Well, it's a man dressed up in that outfit. So no, it's nothing like that.
So are you saying it's not hard for a cowboy to understand which one is a fellow cowboy?
Well, we all know each other.
Oh, all of them.
Well,
how many cowboys do you think there are in America?
I have a composite. True cowboys? Very few. It's a pretty, they keep pretty close guard over who they let in.
I'm still pretty sure this is a sex cult. Well, because, I'm a cowboy.
You are not, Garrett.
Tim, I'm a cowboy.
We'll set your beard on fire.
I got boots, I got a hat, I got a pearl snap shirt, I got chaps, I'm a cowboy. And you know what? You're not.
That's what you get. That is what you get if you ever try to steal we'll discuss this at the end of the show. But if you ever try to steal cowboy valor again, you will get slapped again. I will set your beard on fire, and I don't really have a third threat, but just don't do it.
You don't know what you've done.
I do, and I'm terrified.
I will be the architect of your demise.
Garrett, listen, I am well aware that I've made a huge mistake, all right? That wasn't smart, and I know it. I wish I could take it back.
My job is to craft your doom. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Great email, Tim. That brings us to music news of the weird. First up is longtime friend of the show, Kanye West. He recently had another Sunday service in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, featuring, as part of a fundraising mechanism for the local church that he was performing at, a brunchella for $55.
I don't know what a brunchella is.
Well, it's a play on words referencing Coachella, but just a small brunch that they offer for $55 while Kanye West sings church music.
Can I pay more and not listen to Kanye West sing gospel music?
No, that part was actually free. You're just paying for the breakfast. Unfortunately, Tim, several social media posts reported photographs of a very sad breakfast, including a styrofoam plate with some sad bacon, a sausage patty, and some cold eggs and pancakes. Many people were requesting their money back and wondering how Kanye could allow himself to associate with such a shoddy group.
I know how.
Yeah, it's Kanye West. He doesn't give a shit. To make matters worse, Tim, Kanye did not start for over 2 hours after the reported time that he was supposed to begin. So
he's Axl Rosing people.
Yeah, he's kind of a bastard. In other news, Tim, on Friday, November 1st, Andrew Yang, alleged Democratic candidate for president, hosted Yangapalooza, an impromptu festival-inspired campaign rally where he was joined by none other than Asian cultural enthusiast and terrible musician Rivers Cuomo.
Oh my God.
I know.
Do you know what that means?
Uh-huh.
Okay. We'll see if you come to the same conclusion I did. Go on.
Cuomo performed Buddy Holly and a series of stripped-down acoustic covers, including Beverly Hills, Island in the Sun, and Undone, a.k.a. The Sweater Song. Once he completed those, he did a couple of covers, including TLC's No Scrubs, a-ha's Take On Me, and of course, Toto's Africa, all of which can be found on their terrible, terrible Teal album in stores now. So, Tim, you seem concerned that Mr. Cuomo is aligning himself with Andrew Yang, again, alleged Democratic candidate for president.
I'm concerned for Andrew Yang. I'm worried that Mr. Cuomo tried to fuck him.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not that ridiculous, but I could see him not being able to resist the urge to put his fingers in his mouth. He's a weird guy, allegedly.
All right.
Tim, the internet is reporting Rage Against the Machine are back. They have announced a number of new shows, including a stop at Coachella, and Tim, for you and I, just a mere 9 hours away, a special concert to be held in El Paso, Texas. Tim, road trip?
Absolutely. Did you read the full announcement of this?
Of course not.
Their dates are exclusively in the American Southwest.
Why?
There's some in, there's one in Phoenix, there's one in New Mexico, there's El Paso. And if you really read down into the announcement, Zettler actually mentions he is excited for this opportunity to add to his world-famous collection of turquoise jewelry. So there is a chance that this entire thing is about getting a free trip to the vicinity of our nation's highest concentration of turquoise dealers.
That's some pretty good sleuthing, Tim. I think you're probably onto something. That man loves himself a polished turquoise gem.
Allegedly.
In other news, Tim, Rap Snacks. Are you familiar with Rap Snacks?
No.
They are the official snack of hip-hop, according to...
According to Rap Snacks?
According to Rap Snacks. Exciting news, they have recently partnered with Walmart to bring the hit snack, again, according to Rap Snacks, to over 4,200 Walmart stores across the country. Rap Snacks, of course, founded by legendary rapper and rapist Master P, and features hip-hop artists on each bag, along with flavors like cheddar barbecue Cardi B, sour cream and ranch Migos, and honey jalapeno Fetty Wap. You can really taste the Fetty Wap. Asked about the snacks, Master said, "We want to open the door to the next generation, the thinkers, the movers, the shakers. With Rap Snacks, we're opening the doors, but there are so many other geniuses out there in the world that have these creative ideas and don't get a chance. It is unclear what this has to do with either his chips or opening doors for others."
I think he wants to make money.
Good call, Tim. My last music news of the weird this week is a cherry on the sundae of our Halloween spooktacular scare extravaganza. Recently, for the 26th year, Insane Clown Posse returned to Detroit to throw their annual Halloween party. I did not know this was a thing. ICP took over the Russell Industrial Center, along with fellow Psychopathic Records artists such as Esham, Ouija Mac, Green Jelly, Big Hoodoo, and more. Tim, were you aware that for the last quarter century this has been going on?
I wasn't, but also this sounds more like Christmas news, not Halloween news.
Well, not everyone celebrates Christmas with ICP, Tim.
Confusing.
Let's turn it over to you. What do you have for music news of the weird?
Well, I have some K-Way news this week as well. K-Way has gotten slightly crazier. In pursuit of his weird Jesus and Kanye Center cult, he said he will now be re-recording all of his old music without the swearing.
Oh, good.
He wants to assure us all that this is definitely because of his newfound religion and not an attempt to grow his audience into people who either don't like swearing or an attempt to sell more things to rubes, quote unquote, as he has taken to calling everyone that is not him or Jesus, allegedly. He has also begun insisting that everyone who collaborates with him join his weird cult and follow a series of rules that he has arbitrarily set, including that his collaborators should fast and refrain from premarital sex while they work with him.
Of course. We've been calling this shot for the last half a year.
Yeah, but he says, there were times when I was asking people to fast during the album. This is going to be radical, what I'm about to say. There were times when I was asking people not to have premarital sex while they were working on the album. I think he's like a more judgmental version of Tim Tebow now.
Oh, wow.
Who, again, I of course support him as a fellow Tim, but he sure makes it hard sometimes.
She's kind of a dick.
Yes. In addition, K-Way has also begun bitching about what Kim Kardashian wears. Apparently in a recent episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which our staff is now required to watch to come up with news stories for us, K-Way complained that her dress for the 2019 Met Gala was just too sexy. He said, "You are my wife, and it affects me when pictures are too sexy." He said that it affects his soul and his spirit when she wears revealing clothes that show off her body.
What? Is he on his antipsychotics?
He is not.
Ugh.
In R. Kelly news this week, Robert Sylvester Kelly missed a federal court hearing citing a toenail infection. There's not really a bit here. I just think that's kind of odd.
And he was not immediately summarily arrested for, utter bullshit?
Oh, no, he's in jail. He's trying to get out of jail.
But he chose to stay in jail rather than attend his hearing?
Yes, because of that toenail.
All right, maybe he likes it in jail.
Maybe.
Hold my pocket.
There it is.
Makes me laugh every time.
Yep. In LGBT news, Desmond Child was recently interviewed and discussed the Aerosmith hit Dude Looks Like a Lady, which he wrote, or co-wrote at least, and how this might not fit into today's woke culture the way it did back in 1987. He said, recently there was some kind of LGBT problem with the song. The community said that it was making fun of transgender people. I said, no, it's acceptance. You got it completely wrong. I'm the co-writer of this song, and I'm gay.
Yeah, I think that there's whole parts of that song that are like, never judge a book by its cover, and it may be wrong, but it's all right.
Possibly, but
I always thought that was about two guys fucking.
Garrett, it says dude looks like a lady, not dude is a lady.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You know what, Tim? I didn't even ask. You should begin all conversations with, what's your pronoun?
Yes. Well,
Tim, what's your pronoun today?
It's always he.
Always?
Every time I've checked, yes. Yep.
Never a Zim?
It might be. I don't know what that one is. I don't know what that means exactly. Also, I have a final little news item. This is some news on a personal front.
Oh, God.
As you may remember from the last Prepisode, I was recently inducted into the Order of the Cowboy as a full member after years of hard work and months of tireless promotion of the cause on this very show. You may have noticed that I was out for a couple of days in the middle of last week. That's where I was.
Didn't notice at all.
Oh, that's hurtful. Garrett, as it turns out, and it really pains me to say this. God damn it. I don't want to admit this. There was really no way for either of us to have seen this coming, so I don't blame you for not warning me. It turns out the whole cowboy organization, Garrett, the whole thing's a sex cult. I don't even know what to say. Again, I don't think anyone could have predicted this twist.
Interesting.
Honestly, there were no signs whatsoever. I am embarrassed, and I would like to apologize to our listeners who hold me up as a paragon of morality. I promise I won't let you down like this in the future. I am also going to remain, of course, an independent, unaffiliated cowboy for the foreseeable future, but I'm just not specifically in that organization anymore.
Interesting.
In unrelated news, Garrett, on my way out of the cowboy organization, I met a nice man who invited me to church on Sunday. So in 5 days, I believe, I will be joining him for church. I'm pretty excited about it. He said that all sorts of celebrities will be there. I might even get to meet Brad Pitt.
God.
He's apparently part of the congregation. And I've been assured this definitely won't be like that time I went to church with the guy from the Grease movie you love so much, and then spent
John
8 months...
Travolta.
Yeah, that guy, John Travolta. And then I spent 8 months at sea with a man I would later find out was just Andy Daly in a captain's hat working on an improv character. It's not going to be like that.
Right. Well, you know what? It's a relief to hear, Tim, and I respect and applaud your ability to be open and honest on this show. In one final piece of news this evening, I too would like to make a personal announcement. I have recently joined an organization. It is a sex cult that I previously thought nothing of. I don't need to get into the details of it, Tim. You don't need to worry yourself about it, but I have joined it.
Huh.
Okay, Tim.
Wait.
This is the part of the show.
Well, hold on.
Hold on. What's that?
I noticed you were wearing a cowboy hat.
I always do.
Oh, you know what? I've never noticed.
That's because you're selfish. All right, Tim, this brings me to the favorite part of the episode where we announce the album for next week. So I want to give you the honors drum roll, please. Tim, what album are we talking about next week?
Next week, we will be delving into yet more Green Day with the album and rock opera American Idiot. This was really a difficult choice. We had so very many Green Day suggestions, with the possible exception of Dookie, although I think somebody might have suggested Dookie as well. We will get to all of them in the course of like the next 2 months or so, I think was the deal.
Yeah, thereabouts. No, wait, what? No, that's too fast.
Yeah, it's going to be all Green Day all the time here.
Please don't unsubscribe. Wow, Tim, we pulled the old rug out from under him this week. We hit you with a little Green Day and then boom, it was all just a big old tease. And next week is the big explosion, full on Green Day. An hour straight, an entire album. Talking about the show, Tim, these are simple metaphors that anyone can follow.
You're teasing yourself to an explosion. You're teasing me to an explosion. You and I are teasing one another. Oh my God.
You're welcome. Tim, any predictions about this album?
I mean, I've heard this a couple of times. I'm a huge fan of musical theater, but I still haven't seen the stage performance. So watching that is going to be pretty great, I think. I think we're going to New York.
I'm not looking forward to it at all.
Oh, I think you'll love New York, Garrett.
No, Tim, I always enjoy our trips to New York. I don't recall us ever going there to go and see a Green Day musical, though.
Right, but other musicals. We saw Rent there.
I'm not looking forward to it. I don't think I know this album, so I'm not looking forward to it. But that does bring us to the end of this Prepisode. As always, please rate, review, get those reviews up there. Feel free to get creative with them, folks. We like to see some creativity, some references to the show. Put the 5 stars up there, get it out of the way, but we need them. They've slowed. We've gotten only just a few ratings in the last week. So guys, please get out there, rate, review, subscribe. Makes a big difference for us. You can reach out to us by going to hatepod.com and clicking on contact us in the upper left-hand corner. Send us your thoughts, your theories, your questions, your suggestions, pictures, songs, merch ideas. We love it all and we will get to it. We will respond. If If you don't want to go there, you can just email us directly at hatepodmail@gmail.com. You can find every episode of the show at hatepod.com on the episodes page. You can reach out to us at Album HatePod on Twitter or HatePod on Instagram, facebook.com/HatePod. And we're also on YouTube, but who could remember the URL? Tim, what did I leave out?
Nothing.
Great. For Why I Hate This Album, I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I have been Tim Cool. You get it? Because
No.
like Trey... No. Trey Cool. It's a reference to the album.
No, we're taking it out.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Gary.